So, Tom, you are a mechanical engineer.
Correct.
Graduated from
Cornell University.
Okay, so you have a long-standing history of mechanical engineer.
Yep.
What do you do for work?
Well, I'm a project engineer, mechanical. I design medical devices, but I've also been a project engineer. I run experiments. I've detailed experiments. I've written reports, done the analyses, and I've submitted them to organizations.
So would you consider yourself a pretty well-educated guy?
And I can contribute those to NASA, Boeing, and the FDA, and they've all accepted my credentials as being acceptable.
So you're a pretty credentialed guy.
Right.
All right, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Your comments on this deflate gate. Can you explain to me the football situation?
Exactly. I can explain exactly what happened.
Can you explain exactly what happened?
Exactly. And any mechanical engineer in the United States can explain exactly what happened in a minute. And I'll do it for you in about a minute and a half.
Take your time.
Okay.
I got nothing but time.
Sure.
So we're waiting for Bob Kraft. So
yeah.
you have like this level. Mm-hmm. Next after you is Bob Kraft. So you can consider yourself like pretty freaking up there.
Okay, good deal. All right. So what happens is I've run into this 40 times in my experience, in my career. Someone comes into your office with their hair on fire. The world's ending, the world's ending. Stop production. The first 2 or 3 times I went out running around with my hair on fire. And you can add
Make sure you get me in this.
And you can edit all this as well, so you can take out as much you want as you want here. So, all right, so and what happens is the first 3 times I went through this, I was running around with my hair on fire. And then I realized what happened. It took a couple of months or a couple of weeks to figure it out. And every time it was exactly the same. And after you understand it, it takes 20 seconds to figure it out.
You're sure you're recording? Everything is, you see the digits rolling?
Mm-hmm. And it works like this. In every single case they were measuring something with a new instrument in a different way, or they're measuring something they've never measured before, and it didn't come out as somebody expected to be. This is case number 2. They've never measured the temperature of the footballs in a cold game at halftime before.
What was the temperature?
Never.
What was the temperature at Foxborough, just so we all know?
50 degrees Fahrenheit.
50 degrees Fahrenheit.
How temperatures were the balls filled at? About 73, 74, 75 degrees. I heard a report that the Patriots keep their locker room at about 75 degrees.
So give us a scientific breakdown now.
It's simple, it's easy. Anytime you fill up a ball to 12.5 psi at 74 degrees Fahrenheit, you take it out to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. By the time it's equilibrated, it will have lost 1.5 psi of pressure.
Immediately.
Inexorably. Mother Nature demands that's all that happened. It deflated because the temperature went down. And so what happens is you take 1.5 pounds away from 12.5 pounds, it comes down to 11 pounds. Now what happened is they said it lost 2 pounds, but they were comparing it to the 13-pound nominal. From a 13-pound nominal, because they didn't know at the time they said that, the NFL said that, they didn't know that Brady fills them up to the low end, 12.5 pounds. So compared to the 13-pound nominal, it was 2 pounds under that at 11 pounds, but compared to Brady's 12.5 nominal, it only dropped 1.5 pounds. Every football in the world will drop 25 degrees Fahrenheit. Every football in the world will drop 1.5 psi of pressure.
No matter where we are.
No matter where you are. They've been
Australia.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Everywhere. And what happens is they've been playing with balls down at 11, 10.5, even 10 in real cold weather, 10 psi. They just didn't know it because no one's ever measured it before. This is the first time they've measured it. That's all that's going on here. Now, the next question people say, why didn't the Colts balls do this? And the answer to that is simple. They didn't check the Colts balls. They had no reason to check the Colts balls. No one reported the Colts balls as being under pressure. They didn't check them. The Colts balls were doing exactly the same thing. If they had checked them, they would have been
found the same
11 psi. Exactly. Every time. Now, the third thing is, why didn't the temperature come back up when we went back inside? It's easy.
It's cold out there.
It's cold out there, but they came back inside to measure it. They came back into the warm room to take the measure at halftime, right? Well, what happens is that a football is almost a thermos. Things warm up by convection. The air is mixed, the cold air is pushed out.
A little
warm
rub?
No, not rubbing. Never rubbing. Convection means hot air flows into, cold air flows out of it. A football is just like a thermos. The air does not mix at all. It's the air inside is all that matters. The air inside the football is all that matters.
Inside the bladder.
Inside the bladder. That's all that matters. And the air inside the bladder stays cold for hours. I've run the experiment. Not only theory, it follows theory, but I also ran the experiment. There is no doubt whatsoever. There's not 1 ounce of doubt that this is exactly what's going on.
Maybe not.
And they inside.
Maybe not Monday.
Hey guys,
We're videoing.
give me a second.
Okay. So
There's no doubt.
there's no doubt whatsoever. There's not a second of doubt. I ran the experiment. The experiment confirms the theory, and Mother Nature is a cast iron witch. She will not let you change the rules. This is the rules for everybody. This is exactly. No one did anything to those balls. The only thing that's going on here is no one's ever checked the balls at halftime.
So let me interrupt you for a second because you seem like a pretty biased guy. You seem like the kind of guy that, like, you're not 100. I'm sorry, where are you from again?
Grew up in Boston. San Diego's been my home.
But you seem like a biased guy.
But that's.
So you would call us out on this because you're a scientist.
Hang on a second. When you're biased in favor of something, that's when you challenge it most vigorously.
Vehemently.
The truth will stand up to any challenge. It doesn't matter. So if you want to believe something, that's when you challenge it. You challenge it hardest. And I have challenged this. The challenge is run the experiments.
Run the experiments. And you've done the experiments.
I've done the experiments, exactly. I
So-
did 4 balls, 4 NFL game balls, $100 a pop.
You paid for this.
Yes.
He paid for this, ladies and gentlemen.
And I gathered up a bunch of thermocouples, temperature measuring devices, weights, measures, cold baths. I ran the experiment. There's no doubt whatsoever. And an amusing feature about this is that there's a famous cosmologist, Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's a real sharp guy, who did the calculation, and he blew the calculation. And he came out and admitted that there's a lot of people that have been blowing this calculation. And the way they've been the mistake they've been making is when you do this, solve the equation. The equation's is the perfect gas law, PV equals nRT. But when
Can you say that again real slow?
That's right here. That's PV equals, there you go.
That's that.
Okay.
Explain this now.
Okay, this is the standard equation that you use to measure pressure and temperature and volume and gas. And what they do is they create what's called the isovolumetric approximation. That's easy for you.
Can you hear that? Say that again for us because that's got to go real slow.
Okay, it's called
isometric.
Have another beer.
This isn't beer. This is Coke.
Okay. Oh yeah, sure.
We're on camera.
Right. Okay. It's the isovolumetric approximation.
Isovolumetric
approximation.
Approximation. Did you get that?
Okay,
Go on.
good deal.
Explain.
So, I'll show it to you right here. The second line. You assume that the volume stays the same.
The second line.
It's actually the number 3 down there.
Number 3.
Right.
You assume that the volume would stay the same.
Now that's only approximation. That's not exactly right. All of us who's played basketball in cold weather know the balls get smaller in cold weather.
They do.
It's a close enough approximation. So when you run that, you have P1 over T1 equals P2 over T2. These are two states. One's a state in the room, in the warm room. One's the state out on the field at 50 degrees. One's at 75 degrees. One's at 50 degrees. Okay. When you solve that equation, you have to use absolute temperatures with respect to absolute zero, and it's called degrees Rankine, and you have to use absolute pressure. PSI absolute. What they've been doing is they've been using what's called gauge pressure. The number that they give you, 12.5 PSI, is a gauge pressure. And you have to add atmospheric pressure, 14.7 PSI, to that. Gauge pressure is the pressure above atmospheric.
Okay.
So at a at 12.5 PSI, that's 27.2 PSI absolute. You have to use that number, absolute pressure and absolute temperature. And then the answers come out right. If you use the gauge pressure or the temperatures Fahrenheit, your numbers come out wrong.
Okay.
It's just a
what's
silly
the number?
It's simple science.
It's
But what's the
simple.
number?
The number is that
It goes from 12.5 to what?
it goes 12 to 11.0.
Pound and a half. That's what I estimate. Pound and a
Yeah,
half.
it's 1.5.
You lose a pound and a half.
Right, it was pound and a half. But when they said 2 pounds, by the way, PSI, but it's just they were comparing it to the nominal.
He's a scientist,
to
give him some respect.
13 PSI,
Right.
which is the nominal.
Nominal.
They didn't know. Brady had not said yet for a couple days after that. I like my balls.
12 and a half.
It's 12 and a
Tells
half.
the referee.
So there's that. That's the half PSI because he
Right.
dropped it,
Right.
and then 1.5 pounds below that, 11 pounds. It's
Right, that's
exactly,
exactly where you'd expect it to be.
It's where every ball that's ever been played in the NFL
played at
50
cold
degrees.
temperature.
Absolutely. The difference is no one ever.
What's the starting
Check.
point?
No
No
one
one
has
ever
ever measured it before.
At
That's the
halftime.
only difference at
At a cold
halftime.
temp. Right.
So,
Yes.
Where
can
did
I
it
ask
start
you?
at?
Can I, okay, so are you still recording? All right, I'm gonna get real with you now. Tom.
Okay, sure. Challenge it. It's fine. That's right.
I have no
right thing to
challenge
do.
for you.
That's the right thing
My
to do.
question to you is this.
Sure.
I'm going to go above and beyond challenge. Okay? Why do you think that they threw the flag on us?
Oh, who threw the flag?
Well, I don't know. What do you think?
The media threw the flag.
Okay, but why do you think this happened to the Patriots? As this goes on, this card right here explains everything. Dad, here, hold this. Read that. My father's an engineer. My father's an engineer.
Oh,
too.
then what kind of engineer?
Dad, come over here. Get on the camera.
Double E. Well, okay.
Come
No,
on
no,
in,
no.
come
These
in.
aren't electrons. These are molecules.
Yeah, but I had to take physics, son.
There you
I had
go.
to take physics.
So,
All right.
look at this. Check it out. Read the
Did I
number.
call it right, Chris?
What'd you say, Dad?
PV equals NRK.
He
Or
fucking
NRT,
knows.
rather.
Hey, can I? Sorry. One second. Let me tell you how much of an engineer my dad is. Okay. My father got his car stolen.
Yep.
When he was a kid. Dad, read off the VIN number.
138-177-K-180-540.
But what's that pretty girl that sat down in the
Yeah.
bar next to you last week?
I
What's
can't
her name?
remember.
But read this. Read the second last line. The thing down the end. It's just that simple.
Fire away, hire an engineer. He's exactly right.
Isn't that right?
Exactly
Every
right.
engine in the air in the country can do this calculation in 1 minute and 60 seconds on a napkin.
Okay.
Every one
Exactly
of them.
So,
Yeah.
bottom line.
Right.
First of all, thank you very much
No
for
problem.
this explanation.
No problem.
And I will send this as viral as I can possibly send it.
Absolutely.
Okay? And I appreciate your time.
You
I
bet.
appreciate seriously, I appreciate everything
problem.
you've done.
No problem.
You are a genius. You're a very bright man. I appreciate that. But let me ask you one more question.
Sure.
Do you think that there was a conspiracy behind it?
No, I think that the media just loves to stick a stick into the hornet's nest, and that's all this has been. I've been trying to tell the media this for 2 weeks. About 8 days, less than that. About 8 days I've been trying to tell the media this, and nobody will take the call. Nobody will answer me. I've roped them outside of the stadium. I've been in Phoenix for about 4 days now.
And you're just a guy.
Well, no,
You know
I'm
what I
not.
mean?
I'm not. No, I'm not just a guy.
You don't have a campaign behind it.
No, but I've got credentials in running experiments.
Exactly.
And I've explained to them my credentials. My credentials are pretty impressive. I know what I'm talking
So
about.
can I challenge you one more thought?
Go ahead.
Okay, so are you still rolling? There's a guy named Bill Nye, the science guy.
Yeah, he did the same thing I told you about. He's
Okay, so
Bill,
he's a Seahawks fan.
yeah, he's a Seahawks.
Okay,
But-
granted he's a Seahawks fan.
But if you watch that interview, I've seen the interview. If you watch it, he does no calculation.
He
at
does
all.
no calculations
No, that's
at
it.
all.
So he just says it lowers it. So it doesn't matter. Engineers use numbers. You use calculations. If you don't know the numbers, you don't know shit about the incident. What's going on?
Exactly right.
Listen to your dad. He's a wise
I'm
man.
listening to my dad.
He's a wise
I
man.
got the G's. All right, I gotta go. All
right,
thank
been a
you,
pleasure.
sir.
You betcha,
Thank
Chris.
you for this. I will make sure that this hits.
Anytime. No problem.
Thank you.
Pleasure meeting you. Thank you.
Can I keep this?
Absolutely. And show your dad. He's here you go. Here you go, Dad. You can have one of your own.
All right.
Is this Tom Payton against his
Tom Cordis.
Tom Cordis? You
Yep.
want to plug anything?
No.
Good.
No.
We got nothing to plug.